top things that I would say that indoor players need to know about beach volleyball when they're converting to outdoor is number one, the weather. The wind affects everything. It affects how you play. It's going to show you whether or not, where the serve's coming. It may look like it's coming at you, but you have to remember that there's going to be a wind and that it may pull it away from you. So if there's a heavy wind towards the left, you need to take a step towards the left. Even if you feel like the ball's coming right at you, you have to trust that the wind is really going to pull it. The second thing I would say is that you have to realize that you can't get frustrated at first when you're not ripping balls like you were in indoor, because the timing is completely different. And you're not going to be able to jump up really high and smash a ball and take a huge approach. You're going to have to learn to take a small approach and make a nice controlled shot until you get better and better and can make a hard hit. Third thing I would say is that you really need to be able to get along with your partner. You can't just play. If indoor, you go to tryouts and you play with anybody. You play with the team that you make. In beach, you have to really go out and find the partner that's going to work for you. Everybody's not going to be able to play with you. Your playing styles have to match up. You have to get along well. You have to have the same personalities. You have to be each other's motivators. You can't be saying things to your partner that's always going to be tearing them down. You have to know how your partner's motivated and make sure that you're willing to motivate them in that way. Another thing I would say is that you need to be an all-around player. And what I mean by that is that you can't just be a big hitter and come out here and be a big hitter. You need to be a good server, you need to be a good passer, setter, hitter, you need to be a smart player, you need to be able to transition where you need to look at the other player and see where you think the ball is going to go and transition to play that ball. You need to be watching the other side of the court to be able to hit it where you think they're not going to be. It's all about being a smart player. Also, I think another important thing is being an all-around athlete. When you're out here in the sand, you can't. And indoor, you maybe go to day-long tournaments, but there's 6 players and like 3 subs, and you may not be playing all day, and you're maybe not expending quite so much energy because there's way less running, way less cardio. Because yeah, you're transitioning back and forth off the net, but it's on hard surface, easier to move. Here, you're exerting so much more energy in the heat of the day. You're out there in the sun. You're not in a nice, cool gym. And really, being a complete athlete means you're eating healthy. You're planning ahead when you have a tournament and getting those fluids before the tournament. And also, it means that you're not just doing what your body wants or whatever, but what your body needs. Like the night before, you're not going out and eating a huge dinner with lots of dessert. You're eating healthy and preparing for the tournament. The next thing is that you can't really get away with playing beach volleyball and not training outside of this sport, because there's no way that you can expect to come out here and have a decent vertical if you've never trained and gotten stronger and lifted weights or done anything like that. It's really important because even liberos maybe who don't need to jump high and indoor, out here you still have to have really, really strong muscles to be able to move quickly in the sand. And so it's going to take a lot of hours of hard training and exercise, and as I said earlier, you can train in the sand. You can do those exercises in the sand, and you can go to the gym to get stronger. But whenever you're here practicing with your partner, do a little agility at the beginning. Set up a cone in the center and touch corners and touch the cone and go back and forth, running in the sand and be able to. It's all about turning really quickly in quick directions. Never just gonna go on like a 2-mile run in beach volleyball. It's always change of direction. I'd say the next thing is that you learn when to go hard and when to back off. And what I mean by that is, when can you afford to make a nice hard hit and maybe risk an unforced error? And when do you know that you have to play smart and keep the ball in? So in indoor, obviously, I would say this is really similar because, but you're really need to work on hitting it hard indoor. Here, sometimes when you just wail and hit it hard, that's like the worst thing you can do, because you can either hit it way out or hit it in the net or your timing's off. Everything, you have to know when you have a perfect set. When everything is there, then that's when you go all out. When you don't have those things, you have to see the court and you have to make it a nice shot. The next thing I'd say is that instead of hitting line and angle like you always do in indoor, one of the single most important thing is having that cut shot as well as your line and angle. The cut shot is going to open up a whole new, it's going to put the other team on a whole new defense because they can no longer just stay planted where they are and be like, oh, we got her line and angle and maybe a dink right over where she's hitting. The cut shot is this wide dink that trickles over the net that person who's ready to dig that hard hit that you've been hitting needs to take because they're not there. The other person can't have the whole front of the court. And so I think that's a wonderful hit to develop, and it takes time. I haven't even perfected it yet. It takes a long, long, long time before you perfect it, but once it's there, it's going to be one of the most useful tools, I think, especially when you get a higher level and you're playing up against a big block maybe, and you don't have that line and you don't have the angle because the defenders camp down on an angle and the blocks camp down on a line. That cut shot is going to be a nice tool to get out of that. I would say another thing that you need to remember is that you can never go back to the line and just serve the ball. You need to be thinking about all the factors that I talked about. You need to be thinking about the wind, you need to be thinking about the score, you need to be thinking about what the other team, where they're going to be positioned and serve receive. And indoor you can get away with serving because you might have big blockers in the front line, you're not worried about being on the defense. But here it's just you and your partner, and every serve matters. If you're having an off day on serving, that's really going to hurt you because you're going to have to serve 50% of the balls. That's just the way it is, and beach you can't like hide or you can't get subbed out and someone else can't come in and serve for you. If you're serving bad, you need to get out of it and make sure that you go back to the basics and get it in. The next thing I would say, one of the most important things, is really mentally. You can't get down on yourself in beach because, like I just said for serving, you don't have subs, you're not just going to be able to get out of the game, or you're not going to be able to hide behind other players. And what I mean by that is, when you have 6 players on the court, you know, you might be able to get stacked in the back corner, or they're just going to set somebody else. Here, the other team is going to see immediately, they're going to recognize, oh, Lauren over there, our number 1 is really, you can tell she's having a really hard time with this. Or the left side player is having a hard time, she keeps hitting the ball in the net. They're just going to keep serving you and serving you and serving you and serving you. They'll serve you the whole game. They don't ever, there's no rule that they have to serve the other girl. They'll serve you every single ball. So if your serve receive isn't there, they could win the game 25-0 if they serve you every single time and you keep making shanks. So really mentally what you have to do is don't let anybody get in your head. If they keep serving you, use that as an opportunity to get back at them and get a nice kill off of them. So those, I'd say, are the top things that any athlete needs to learn about going from indoor to beach.